The Packers head to the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions in a huge Thanksgiving Day matchup. How can the Packers win this game and take control of the division? We will tell you.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm cash.
Hey everybody, welcome back into another episode of Sounds Gouda. Today is a special episode of Sounds Gouda. It is the 150th episode of Sounds Gouda. This is also a Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving week edition of Sounds Gouda. So lots to be thankful for. First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. We're thankful for you, our listeners. Also thankful we get to watch Packers football on Thanksgiving Day and get to spend time with our family doing it. I am your host for today's episode. My name is Jordan Olson, and excited to be talking Packers football with you again. We have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. But without any further ado, let's jump into this giant game against division rival Detroit Lions. We go to Detroit to face a 7-4 Detroit Lions team. The Lions are currently 2.5-point favorites, which is essentially the new Vegas odds for even. It used to be 3. That line has shrunk kind of down to 2.5 when it's a coin toss. So that means this is anybody's ball game, according to Vegas, and that Lions home field advantage, they're kind of throwing out the windows. Lots of key storylines in this game. This game is pivotal to winning the division. Both teams will be hungry. The Lions will be seeking revenge from week 1. They hope to establish their bully status back in this division, and the Packers are seeking to win the division for the first time in a couple of years. There's no shortage of heat between these two teams either, whether it's players. Look no further than Amon-Ra St. Brown with his Green Bay Sucks hoodie. Brian Branch always seems to have something to say in this matchup. Fans are getting feisty. So all kinds of things kind of fueling this rivalry at the moment. I also want to share, fans, if I sound a little sick, a little under the weather, it's because I am. But I had to be here talking Packers football with you all and preview this huge game against the Lions. So some other key storylines. The Lions have looked vulnerable over the past few weeks. They went to overtime and won on that huge 70-yard run by Jahmyr Gibbs. The Eagles, the week before that, held that offense to 9 points in a loss. 2 weeks before that, they lost to the Vikings at home. I certainly think that this Lions team is not clicking on all cylinders, not like the fine-tuned machine that we saw last season and that we've come accustomed to. Now's a good time to be getting this team, and hopefully now's a good time for the Packers to be on the up and up, for the defense to be playing the way they are, for the offense to start to have things come together. Just really excited to see that come together in this matchup. Another thing that gives me hope is Jared Goff has been inconsistent. He's played bad when he's been pressured the last few weeks. He's had interceptions in each of the last 2 games. When he's been pressured, he's been throwing the ball away. So there is clearly an opportunity for us to generate some pressure to make Jared Goff uncomfortable, for the Packers team to create some turnovers. I'm looking for that in this game. How do they do that? They get right through the heart of this Detroit Lions offensive line. Both guards and the center have been vulnerable as of late. And I think especially if LVN plays a few more snaps this week, you've got Devontae Wyatt coming off a 2-sack game, Micah Parsons, who gets moved around and comes from the inside. Again, you could blitz guys up the middle, Edrin Cooper, Quay Walker if he plays, or Isaiah McDuffie. So I really expect them to test and berate the inside of this Lions offensive line and really try to go after Jared Goff right up the middle. On the other side of the ball, one thing that I'm really looking for at a high level is, can the Packers stop this Lions run game? Jahmyr Gibbs went for well over 200 yards last week. Interesting thing, though, kind of in this matchup, they love to run that outside zone. Green Bay has been one of the best teams in stopping the outside run this season, only allowing 2.8 yards per carry versus outside zones. Will they get David Montgomery a little bit more involved, a little bit more of a battering ram up the middle, pick up some of those short yardage plays or scenarios? Would they be content with a couple of runs that ground and pound out 3-4 yards a carry? We'll see it. They've definitely been more Jahmyr Gibbs heavy as he's entering his third season in the NFL. Just looking at some of the team rank stuffs, the Packers are kind of sitting in the middle of the pack, a little under where we want them to be offensively. 13th in points scored, 14th in pass yards per game, 15th in rush yards per game. So how does that match up against Detroit? Detroit is currently second in points scored at 29.6 points per game, but their defense is allowing 2.1 points a game. So this is going to be a matchup where the Packers' fifth-ranked defense is going to need to show up and play and limit this explosive Detroit Lions offense. Detroit Lions offense has been good and effective passing the ball and rushing the ball, but their defense has been mediocre. They're 15th in the league against the pass, 7th in the league against the rush. This is going to be a game where the Packers offense is going to come out and have to give their best performance, and the Packers defense is going to continue to have to play at the high level in order to win this game. Let's switch over to PFF and look at some of the key matchups. All right, so we're going to start with the Packers defensive side of the ball, Lions offensive side of the ball. What are some things I'm looking at? How can the Packers win this game? I've already stated this once, but definitely going to want to attack the middle of that offensive line over and over again. Graham Glasnow has been vulnerable. Tate Rowledge has been poor against the pass, and he has been great in the run game. But that's what we're talking about, though. In pass pro, he is a vulnerability for this offensive line. And then they got a replacement level player in there, and Awaskia as a guard replacing the injured Christian Mahogany. So if they attack those three players over and over again, I expect the Packers to at least be able to come away sacking Jared Goff 2 or 3 times in this matchup. If they get to 5 like they did last week, I think the Packers win this game. So I think that's the first place where I'm looking some key matchups and some ways to win. I think the Packers defensive secondary, specifically Javon Bullard, is going to have to take away Amon-Ra St. Brown in this game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best in the biz, certainly been a Packers killer in his career with Detroit. Javon Bullard's an ascending player right now. We need him to have one of his best games of the season, if not his best game. If we can neutralize that threat in the short and intermediate passing game, that's going to be monumental, especially with the pass rush coming. Jared Goff is not going to have Sam Laporta in this game. He's on the injured reserve, and if St. Brown, that safety net is taken away, they're going to have to live by the big play or really count on this running game. And then if they can find a way to remove Jameson Williams from the deep passing attack, and he is explosive, that's going to be huge. So Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams will be busy. Hopefully they'll be doing their job. Xavier McKinney's name, I felt like it's hardly been called this entire season. That's just because he's been back there doing his thing, neutralizing the deep threats. And Evan Williams has really been the beneficiary of a lot of those plays and interceptions and things coming right his way. Going to switch over to the Packers offensive side of the ball. Going to move Detroit to nickel, because I think that's where they'll be living a little bit more as the Packers do play some 11 personnel. We'll talk about some 12 personnel groupings in a minute here, but I think when they're in 11 personnel, hopefully Jayden Reed will return this week. There's some speculation he will. If he can, I'm really looking for him to attack Amik Robinson, maybe move him over to the outside and have a chance to attack Tyrion Arnold. I think that Jayden Reed versus Amik Robertson matchup could be monumental in this game. If not, it's going to be Matthew Golden in there. If he's healthy, it's going to be Dontavian Wicks in there. And that's a matchup that they're going to have to win in the short and intermediate passing game for this offense to move and find some rhythm. Also thinking, this 11 personnel, but really anytime this offense is on the field, Jordan Lovett will need to step up and make some plays with his arm. The game plan that we had last week against Minnesota, clearly after the run was effective, Matt LaFleur wanted to shorten that game. That game plan is not going to work super effectively against Detroit. I know that they're going to want to win the trench war. They're going to want to bring that physicality. but most likely the Lions are going to match that, and Jordan Love is going to need to use his arms. That will only go as far as Matt LaFleur will let him. Will Matt LaFleur open up this playbook? Will he play more play action? I really hope that they put the ball in Jordan Love's hands a little bit more, and even if they pass 55-60% of the time, I think that'll be a recipe for them to win this game. When they are going to run, though, I do like what I saw on the field last week in these 12 personnel matchups. Instead of Luke Musgrave out there like PFF is featuring right now, I do like the opportunity to see Darian Kennard as a sixth offensive lineman on the field, or reporting as eligible as a tight end. You can run some heavy 12 personnel, some jumbo 12 personnel packages with John Fitzpatrick, Josh Wiley, or Luke Musgrave on the other end. And then you have Darian Kennard in there as your sixth offensive lineman, as a way to get some extra juice in the blocking game, whether you're going to run the ball or you're going to be in pass pro. Maybe Luke Musgrave releases, and you have somebody else to stay home and protect Jordan Love against the likes of Aiden Hutchinson, McNeil. We'll see if Marcus Davenport plays this week, but I think that's going to be huge. When they were in this jumbo 12, this heavy 12 last week, the Packers had a 59% success rate. That was like almost 20% higher than their 11 personnel package. So I really hope that they can try that. Matt LaFleur can experiment with a few more variations of that offense and allow that to be successful. One other thing while I'm here talking about the offensive line, PFF is showing you that Jordan Morgan is still the starter in there at right guard. I don't know, maybe for seniority purposes, maybe he will start the opening drive at right guard. I think it's been heavily talked about this past week that we probably need to see more Anthony Belton in there at right guard. He's a mover in the run game. He played extremely well in the second half of last week's game. I'd really like to test that out and see how that works. Jordan Morgan will be fine someday at left tackle or somewhere else, and that's a future problem. If Anthony Belton is the best man to help get this run game going, allow Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson to find some gaps and get to the second level, that's just tremendous, especially in this matchup, as they're going to try to be the bully in the trench and win that battle, because they're preaching the same on the other side of the football there. So just tidying up some news and notes from the injury report. This is a weird week, the Thanksgiving week coming off of a Sunday game. All of these designations as I record this Wednesday night are estimations for the most part. There's not a status on who's out, who's questionable, but I did take note of the do not participates on either side of the ball. Right now for the Packers, it's only Savion Williams, Lucas Van Ness, and Carl Brooks. The Carl Brooks one seems to have popped up, and I don't know what his status is. Savion Williams has been in a walking boot all the way up until game time, I've heard, so that's probably precautionary on a short week. LVN just got back and played 6 snaps. I'd imagine that's precautionary too. So by all intents and purposes, I'd probably expect Savion Williams and Lucas Van Ness to play. And then there's talk we're going to get Jaden Reed back. I would really, really love to see that. And we'll see if Josh Jacobs is healthy enough to go, and Matthew Golden. All of those guys were limited in practice, and Reed, Jacobs, and Golden. So Lions got some injuries though. Quite a few key ones. They're already missing Sam Laporta on the IR. I see that Brock Wright was a do not participate the last 2 days. Not really sure of any of these players' statuses. I don't follow the Lions beat that closely, but Khalif Raymond was a do not participate the last 2 days. Kirby Joseph has been missing time. He's been a do not participate. Josh Paschal showed up on the DNP list on Tuesday, and then Graham Glasnow, their center, is on that list too. So Lions injuries couldn't play a factor for both of these teams in this game, but if the Lions don't get a little bit more healthy, they have some pretty substantial holes there. So just kind of re-emphasizing a couple keys to victory, and then I'm going to give you a scoring prediction. I'll get you out of here, onto your Thanksgivings, time with your family, and most importantly, to watch this Packers team hopefully beat the Detroit Lions. So keys to victory: dominate in the trenches. I've talked about that over and over on this episode. They have to win. The offensive line has to win. The defensive line has to win. Whichever unit is getting more push is likely to bully and win this game. I think that the Packers and Jordan Love should attack these cornerbacks, particularly Amik Robinson and Tyrion Arnold. I think they should hit him with slants. I think they should hit him with screens. I think they should hit him with downfield double moves. Make them work all game, and I promise they're vulnerable. There's a chance and an opportunity for them to break. But I think Matt LaFleur just has to be versatile in how he attacks those two particular corners. Next three things are all kind of duh things, but if the Packers want to win, I think they're key. They need to get a lead and get out ahead and not play from behind. Because if the Lions go ahead and get ahead, 7-0, 10-0 in this game, it's going to lean right into that advantage for that team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to settle in. We need to make them uncomfortable. If the Packers can jump out to a 7-0 lead, a 10-0 lead, 10-3 lead, that's going to be monumental in this game. Win the turnover battle, even if you win it by one. If you are able to create a turnover or two in this game, kind of like we saw last week, 3 turnovers, big special teams play, that changed the whole complexity of the game. We saw it last year in the Detroit Lions games and what that meant for the Packers when the Lions won the turnover battles. Last thing I'm going to say is I think that the Packers need to score 27 points or more. If they score 27 points or more on offense, I think the Packers come away with this game with a victory. So final score predictions. If the Packers slow down the run, I think they win 27-24. Caveat to that, if the Lions run wild over this Packers defense and they don't have a solution for outside zone, Lions probably win this game going away, something like 31-20. Probably not embarrassed, but we're probably super frustrated at the end of the day and right back to asking some of the same questions we were asking a few weeks ago. So, official prediction, Packers win. They get it done. They win 27-24. More great content from Sounds Gouda every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Thank you for listening. Share with your friends, your family, and other Packers fans. As I said at the beginning of the episode, it's Thanksgiving, and we are thankful for all of you. So if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. Connect with us on X. Rob's at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's, and I'm at Olson Jord. But until next time, Packers Nation, have a Gouda morning, a Gouda afternoon, and a Gouda night. Go Pack Go, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Been wanted this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.